Global Weather Report, October 12, 2025. It's Sunday, October 12, 2025. Across the Atlantic Basin, the Caribbean, the Americas, and the Eastern Pacific, the atmosphere is entering one of the most chaotic phases of this autumn. A series of low-pressure systems, fading storms, and new tropical waves are interacting at once, creating a chain of extreme weather events, from powerful coastal flooding along the U.S. East Coast, to dangerous flash floods in Central America, and torrential rain sweeping across western Mexico. Farther north, the first snow of the season has fallen in Alberta, Canada, marking the start of a sharp climatic transition across the continent. In the United States, all eyes are on the Atlantic seaboard, where a large low-pressure system has rapidly developed into a powerful coastal storm, what meteorologists describe as a nor'easter. Although it's not tropical in nature, this system is producing impacts similar to those of a major fall storm: strong winds, pounding surf, and days of heavy rain, from North Carolina up through Massachusetts. Numerous coastal states including Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and New York have already reported flooding, beach erosion, and wind gusts exceeding 50 miles per hour. Along the Outer Banks and Cape Hatteras, waves over 10 feet have battered the shoreline, carving deep trenches into the dunes. The National Weather Service warns that this system will linger. A surge of cold air diving south from Canada is blocking the storm's escape path, essentially trapping it just off the coast for at least 3 more days. That means prolonged onshore flow, repeated tidal flooding, and continuing rainfall for millions from the Carolinas to New England. Coastal flood warnings stretch from the Chesapeake Bay to the Delaware Bay, where the combination of high tides and persistent northeast winds could inundate docks, piers, and low-lying neighborhoods. Residents are urged to avoid travel during high tide cycles and to secure property and small vessels. Farther south and east, over the open Atlantic, the remnants of Tropical Storm Jerry are still evident. The storm has weakened into a disorganized low drifting southeast of Bermuda, but its trailing bands of moisture continue to trigger scattered showers and thunderstorms across the northern Caribbean, affecting Puerto Rico, Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, and St. Lucia. Though rainfall has eased compared to previous days, localized flooding remains possible. Meteorologists say that moisture associated with Jerry could linger for another couple of days across the western Caribbean. Behind Jerry, satellite imagery shows 2 new tropical waves emerging from the coast of Africa. The first is expected to recurve harmlessly into the open Atlantic. The second, however, moving more slowly and embedded in deeper tropical moisture, bears closer watching. Computer models suggest that by late next week this wave could approach the western Caribbean, where sea surface temperatures remain exceptionally warm, around 29 degrees Celsius, 84 degrees Fahrenheit, providing ample fuel for potential tropical development. While there is no imminent threat, forecasters emphasize that this feature deserves attention as it moves westward over the next 5 to 7 days. Meanwhile, across Central America and western Mexico, relentless rainfall has pushed many areas to the brink of disaster. The culprit is the remnants of Tropical Storm Raymond, a system from the eastern Pacific that has moved inland over northwestern Mexico, dragging vast amounts of tropical moisture. Heavy rain continues from the Pacific coastline well into the interior highlands, submerging communities and triggering landslides. The Mexican states of Sinaloa, Sonora, and Baja California Sur are bearing the brunt of the storm, with rainfall totals of 6 to 10 inches, 150 to 250 millimeters, and isolated spots above 12 inches, 300 millimeters. Flash flooding and mudslides have been reported in at least 8 states. Moisture from Raymond has also surged northward into the southwestern United States, bringing widespread rain to Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of West Texas. Flood advisories are in effect across several counties. In Tucson and Phoenix, streets turned into rivers as downpours overwhelmed drainage systems. Forecasters describe this as one of the most moisture-laden tropical remnants to reach the U.S. Southwest this year. Across Central America, particularly in Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Guatemala, the situation is dire. Weeks of continuous rain have left the soil saturated. Additional heavy rain from the southern flank of Raymond is heightening the risk of landslides and flash floods. In Honduras, hundreds of families have been evacuated from mountain slopes near Tegucigalpa. In Guatemala, 10-day rainfall totals have exceeded 16 inches, 400 millimeters, the average for an entire month of the rainy season. Out over the oceans, conditions remain hazardous. The Atlantic Ocean is extremely rough, with average wave heights between 8 and 15 feet, and peaks exceeding 18 feet near the Bahamas and Bermuda. Along the U.S. East Coast, high surf combined with strong onshore winds is flooding harbors even during fair weather. In contrast, the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico are relatively calmer, but easterly winds of 25 to 30 km per hour with higher gusts continue to pose a danger for small craft. Marine authorities across the region are advising fishermen to remain in port at least until mid-next week, when the coastal storm finally pulls away. Forecast models from both the GFS, US, and ECMWF, Europe, agree on the rainfall pattern for the next 7 days. The heaviest rainfall is expected along the eastern United States, where totals of 4 to 6 inches, 100 to 150 millimeters, are likely, with isolated amounts above 8 inches. Northwestern Mexico, Arizona, and New Mexico could see 3 to 8 inches, while Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, and the Cayman Islands may receive 3 to 4 inches. In Central America, rainfall of 8 to 12 inches, 200 to 300 millimeters, is expected, enough to trigger life-threatening floods and landslides. Meteorologists warn that mountainous terrain will amplify runoff, making flash floods particularly dangerous. Farther north, while the eastern U.S. battles wind and rain, winter has arrived early in western Canada. In Alberta, including Calgary and the foothills of the Rockies, residents woke up to the season's first snow. Since Friday evening, a surge of Arctic air has transformed rain into wet snow, blanketing parts of the suburbs in white. Environment Canada has issued snowfall warnings for Banff and Kananaskis, where accumulations of 3 to 5 centimeters are expected. Strong northerly winds are combining with sub-freezing temperatures to create icy travel conditions. Daytime highs have plummeted to 0 degrees Celsius, about 15 degrees colder than yesterday. Meteorologists say this early snowfall could be the signal of a colder than normal start to winter 2025. All of these contrasting events, coastal storms, tropical rains, and early snow, stem from a complex atmospheric interaction. 3 main mechanisms are driving the current pattern. First, the jet stream has dipped unusually far south across the Atlantic, pulling cold Canadian air into the eastern U.S. Second, sea surface temperatures in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico remain well above average, injecting huge amounts of moisture into the atmosphere. And third, the Atlantic subtropical ridge, normally a stabilizing high-pressure zone, is breaking down, leaving open corridors for low-pressure systems to form and move freely. Together, these ingredients have produced what experts call a domino effect in the atmosphere, where one storm fades only for another to take its place. The result, an almost continuous parade of weather systems affecting the entire Western Hemisphere. The U.S. Climate Prediction Center notes that over the next 10 days, conditions could favor the formation of another tropical disturbance in the Western Caribbean. Beyond that, however, as northeasterly trade winds strengthen after October 20th, the region should gradually dry out, likely signaling the closing chapter of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. For now, residents along the U.S. East Coast are urged to monitor official updates, especially during high tide periods when flooding risk peaks. Communities across the Caribbean and Central America should prepare for continued rainfall, avoid mountainous routes prone to landslides, and follow local emergency advisories. Fishermen operating near the Bahamas, Cuba, and the Gulf of Mexico are advised to stay in harbor until seas calm. And for those in Canada, this early snow serves as a timely reminder to ready vehicles and homes for the upcoming winter season. From the United States to Mexico to Canada, This week's weather paints a vivid picture of transition. Summer's warmth has not yet fully retreated, while winter's chill is already advancing southward, leaving autumn caught between extremes. Meteorologists believe that this pattern of contrasting air masses will continue through October, bringing more rounds of storms and heavy rainfall. Staying informed and prepared will be vital in the days ahead. That concludes today's International Weather Report. We'll continue to monitor the evolving coastal storm along the U.S. East Coast and the tropical waves moving toward the Caribbean, with further updates in our next broadcast. Thank you for watching. We wish you safety, peace, and a calm weekend amid this turbulent weather. Visual outro. Dramatic footage of waves crashing along the Atlantic coast, followed by scenes of torrential rain over Central America and soft snow falling in Calgary. On-screen text fades in. Weather never sleeps. Stay safe. Stay informed.